This game came out almost 20 years ago, and we're still learning new things about it. Today I thought we would go over some more glitches and oddities with the battle system. The first thing we're talking about is Goombario. I always give Goombario a hard time because he's easily overshadowed by other partners and abilities. His ultra rank Multibonk move is no exception. Multibonk works similarly to Power Bounce, but it's glitched in a way that makes it worse. The whole idea behind Power Bounce and Multibonk is extremely overpowered. Just keep timing your hits on the same enemy until it dies. So the devs made a cap system that mostly applies to bosses, where you automatically have to stop attacking even if you time it right. Mario's Power Bounce was programmed just fine, but the same formula used to calculate when Goombario's Multibonk gets capped is kinda broken. This is because a base value applied to the formula doesn't get reset after using the move. Multibonk will cap super early if you've already used it to its fullest extent in the current battle. You can fix it by swapping partners, but if you're not using quick change, I would recommend using Goombario's charge for a single strong Multibonk. Otherwise you're just wasting flower points to do less damage than his normal move. Have you ever used the badge Hammer Throw? You get it super early in the game, and honestly, it looks cool, but it's not all that great. It does the same damage as a regular hammer, but costs 2 badge points and a couple flower points. The only advantage you get is hitting backline, aerial, and ceiling enemies with your hammer. 98.5% of the time, you're better off just jumping or using Quake Hammer. By the way, this is kinda weird, but knocking down a ceiling buzzy beetle will have them flip in the opposite direction they're supposed to. Here's what's strange about Hammer Throw. The Monty Moles messing with Petunia in Chapter 6 have a hidden weakness to it. Using a normal hammer will deal the damage you expect. Hammer Throw deals an additional 3. This is the only enemy in the game with a Hammer Throw weakness too. There's no logical explanation for this, and it's highly unlikely it went noticed in development because why would anyone use Hammer Throw, let alone against a late game ground-based enemy? I've covered a few other battle issues before, like how Fuzzipede is the only boss weak to up, up, and away, despite the move being unattainable at that point in the story. You can also paralyze Fuzzipede on the ceiling, and follow up with the Spin Smash move to break his ceiling mechanics, allowing Mario to jump to never-before-seen heights. And you might already know we can exceed the 99 damage cap with the Ice Power badge, but let's address some things I haven't mentioned before. There's a cool badge found in Chapter 1 called Dizzy Attack, which gives Mario's Spin Dash the unique ability to daze the frontline enemy, even if they're usually resistant to dizziness. You basically have a new way to first strike enemies on the field with this. However the developers made this work doesn't translate perfectly if you get a game over immediately after dazing the enemy. Just Dizzy Attack at low health, take enough damage to die on the first enemy turn, and sit at the title screen for a bit until the demo reel plays. Most of these scenes are outside of battles, but the ones that are in battle have a new twist. The frontline enemy appears dazed from Dizzy Attack. This is not normal, so if you had any doubts, the demo is not a pre-rendered cutscene. In fact, it actually breaks during the Tubba Blubba scene. He's the only opponent in that battle formation, and he's supposed to attack Mario. But he can't move now, so the demo gets stuck. This is not a softlock because you can simply press A few times to get to your file selection, but how did this go unknown until 2019? Dizzy Attack is not the only first strike that's broken. In Crystal Palace, there are these White Clubbas that talk to Mario if you get too close. This starts a required encounter, but what if we hit them with Kooper or Bombette before getting too close? Kooper's shell can be tossed to first strike enemies, giving you a free hit at the start of a fight. Likewise, Bombette scores a free bomb, which is pretty powerful, so it's really satisfying to get that. What's interesting though, is you can't first strike those White Clubbas. Well, you can, but it doesn't actually happen in the battle. That's kinda weird, but not as weird as this. Fodder TV, one of my Twitch viewers, Recall a game crash after first striking an enemy in the dark. There's a cave in Bowser's Castle where you're supposed to use Watt to brighten the area. The developers added a nice touch where Watt had to be the active partner in local fights. Otherwise, there's no light, and Mario and partner can't see well enough to target enemies. Standard attacking moves were just disabled, so certain menus can't even be opened. However, partners have a few options, like Goombario can charge in the dark. This targeting exception wasn't tested super well because it's hardly ever used. I mean, look at this. If you try to use a grayed out partner selection here, it says you don't have enough flower points. Really? Since when did Headbonk and Tattle cost FP? Oh, and I can apparently afford everything when I switch to Watt. They definitely shortcut programming this, and it caused a problem with Bombette and Kooper's first strikes. The result of that first strike is actually dependent on how many enemies are present in the formation. There are no battles in the dark with only one enemy, but in a fight with two enemies, the first strike hits the backline enemy instead of the front. That's definitely not right, because first strikes are supposed to always hit the frontline enemy. What if you try with a fight that has 3 enemies in its formation? For some reason, Kooper and Bombette appear to damage themselves. It plays their hurt animation, but they don't actually get stunned. By the way, with Kooper, the partner gets stuck in front of Mario here. Apparently, this is now Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door, where your partners can take damage for you. There's also some strange camera behavior with certain moves during this. With a 4 enemy formation, the first strike will just do 0 damage. That's only on Virtual Console though. If you're playing on Nintendo 64, that's the game crash. It likely has something to do with targeting an enemy that doesn't really exist. So yeah, as much as I love Paper Mario's battle system, some basic mechanics are plain broken. I want to give a shout out to I'm Glower, JCog, Rainchoos, Move Mario Paper, Fodder, Clover, and Robdog for discovering and helping test a few of the topics explored in the video. And also a special thanks to some awesome patrons, including Balderon, Beta, Glitch Umbreon, Corby, Tupai, Dainty, and Fluffy Dog Neptune. If you enjoy the content and want to support my work, please consider checking out any of these links.